Hello and welcome to an Ocedo video guide. The Ocedo system is a line of cloud-managed gateways, wireless access points, and switches, which are used to connect your entire company together like never before. In this session, we'll show you how to perform a basic network setup at a single office that offers wireless for employees as well as guests. Other sessions will expand on this. We'll add more sites, create security policies, expand our wireless coverage, and much more. Now, the architecture for today involves a single site, the headquarters for a company named Cyberdyne Systems. Hey, we're geeks and we can't help ourselves. Today we'll define the network zones and configure our wireless SSIDs, add a couple of employees, and then deploy an Ocedo G50 wireless gateway into the site. That's right, hardware last. Ocedo isn't just a new set of products, it's a new workflow to manage your network. Instead of opening a box, figuring out how to log in to whatever complex product is inside, and then trying to get it operating in your network, Ocedo lets you plan, store, and visualize your entire network, then activate hardware to put things into production. To begin, we'll need to log into Ocedo Connect. So let's get started. So all we need to do is log in here. Once we've successfully logged in, we are immediately greeted by the dashboard. The dashboard is our central place where we get a visual representation of our organization along with alerts and other action items. Let's get our headquarters set up and configured. Now, our company has already been created by the folks at Ocedo, and doing that has entered our company name and filled in some basic information throughout this configuration that we'll want to change and customize to match our needs. You may hear us refer to various terms that the Ocedo system uses to represent parts of a company. We call the company an organization, or org, and the physical locations that make up the company are called sites. Within sites, we have network segments called zones. So we have organizations, sites, and zones. If you're a partner, you'll have access to an extra management console, which lets you see and manage all your customer organizations that make up your realm. Now, to start, we want to go to Sites and edit the site that's been placed here by default for our headquarters. Under the location setting, we're just going to add the address of 18144 El Camino Real. Once we save that, the map will be much more accurate, especially as we add more sites. Now we're going to move on to network design, and we're going to go to zones to do that. We have a default zone already, and zones are where we can actually change all of our networks and the IPs that consist of them. So our default zone here for the LAN, we can change by editing this, going to IP, and changing the network to match our topology of 10.1.1.0/24. We also want this zone to be part of our VPN network for auto VPN. So we're going to enable the route VPN setting. Once that's done, we can save that. And this zone is now ready to go. The other thing that we need to do is make a new zone for our guests. And to do that, we just click New Zone, select the site, in this case our headquarters, make a name for it, we'll call this Guest, and we're going to enable the Guest Zone flag, which adds some extra intra-client security and keeps them isolated from each other. Once we've saved that, you can see that we actually have two different zones ready to go, one for our corporate LAN and one for our guests. Now we want to actually make these reachable over wireless. So to do that, we go down here to Wi-Fi, and we have an SSID already created by default, which we want to change. So we click on that, and we're going to relabel this to CyberCorp. Now by default, WPA2 security is enabled with a randomly generated password. We want to change that to something super secure and a bit easier to remember. So now we have an SSID for CyberCorp ready to go. We also want to make another SSID. We're going to call that CyberGuest, because this will be for our guest. We're going to leave that completely open because we're going to use our onboarding portal, which allows guests to use an SMS or email authentication to gain access to the guest network. So to do that, we just click on Submit, and now we have two SSIDs. We now need to broadcast them at a site. Again, hardware doesn't come into play here. We can add our gateway a little bit later in the demo, but for now, we want to work with broadcasts. So down here under broadcasts, we can see that there already is a broadcast that we're going to need to make because we have none. So we're going to make a new broadcast, and we're going to do that for our company LAN or our corporate network. CyberCorp should be broadcast, and if you connect to it, you want to be mapped into our HQ or LAN zone. We also want to make another broadcast, and we want to make that one again in our headquarters, but this time we want to broadcast our cyber guest SSID, and we want to map those users into the guest network. Once we've saved that, we want to go back and we want to edit the guest network here and turn on the authentication portal so guests are able to use SMS and email authentication to join this network. Now that our broadcasts are set up, our zones have been configured, and our sites are all ready to go, all we need to do now is enable our appliances. To do that, we can go down here and actually drop a gateway into this particular site. Now, the genius of the Ocedo system is all the configuration is stored here in Ocedo Connect, which means we can add an appliance when we physically have it in our hand, or we can continue to plan for when we actually have the appliance. We do that with a concept called shadow appliances, which are basically cardboard cutouts that can be used to represent what will be a final product once you register it with a real serial number. So for now, let's deploy a G50 gateway into our headquarters site. This allows us to work with it just as if we had a real particular gateway here. Now when we click on it, we're able to edit some options for it. The one thing that you can see is we want to change the location. We want to say that this is actually located in the server room. There's actually nothing else we need to change. Everything is mapped automatically because this is the first appliance to show up at this particular site. So if you actually come back here to uplinks, you can see that we have an internet connection. This internet connection is just called uplink, but it's already been assigned to the G50 shadow appliance. We can actually change the name here of this internet connection. We're going to call this the Skynet Fiber. And it's a DHCP connection, but we also support static and DSL or PPPoE as well. We don't need to worry about multi-WAN or backup connections at this point, so we're just going to save that. Now we have an internet connection assigned to this gateway. If you come back to the zones, you can also see that the zones have already been set to use this particular G50 gateway as their gateway because it's the only one present at the site. It's all quite intelligent. And if we look at the site itself, we actually want to enable a really unique feature called XLAN. And XLAN allows us to work with both our guest network zone and our corporate zone without the use of VLAN capable switches at this time. We do that with some GRE tunnel magic that enables those networks to work correctly even though they're on the same network port. So now we have our G50 appliance deployed into our headquarters as a shadow appliance. We've got the zones created, we've got the Wi-Fi network set up and broadcasting SSIDs, and everything is ready to go to register a real appliance. We can do that by just clicking on an appliance itself, looking at the physical device we're holding in our hand or that we know has been shipped to the location, and all we have to do is click Register Hardware. Registering hardware is really easy. All you would do is enter the serial number, and once that's been entered, the Ocedo provisioning server will hand off the appliance when it connects in to this particular organization and this particular site, give it its configuration, bring it online, perform all the firmware updates, and basically realize your design on the appliance itself in the real world. This also makes the appliances quite replaceable. If someone, for example, was to spill a coffee on your nice shiny Ocedo G50 appliance and render it non-operable, you could simply drop it back to a shadow appliance without losing the configuration and then register a replacement serial number for a new appliance. That makes replacements almost instantaneous. With or without a physical appliance deployed, we can also work with the ports on the appliance itself and see which is mapped to what, and we also have visibility into every configuration change that we've made here throughout this session. This shows exactly which user has done what at what time to which area of our configuration. Everything is tracked. In future videos, we'll show you how you gain even more visibility through your users and the devices they operate on the network. We'll expand our locations and create VPN tunnels between them, and even increase our wireless coverage at some of our sites. Thanks for watching.